How are we all this evening? I'm on late, but it's like that at the moment. I've got uni assessments due and insurances and blah blah blahs. So it's been fun. Hi Tula. So guys, as you come in, please just remember no pregnancy, no legal, no health questions. Other than that, the more specific you are with your questions, the more direct I can be with your answers. Other than that, also please feel free to comment more than once, but do not smash the live feed with comment after comment after comment. It is frustrating to see. What did I want to say? I feel like I wanted to say something. If I meant to, it will come back to me. All right. Let me just jump back to the Kate. Hey, Kate. Would love a read, please. You have a grandfather who comes in around you. I don't feel like he was a super large man. I feel like he was just maybe around an average height. But I feel like in his older part of his time, there was either like an illness or the physical side of things. But I just want to bring him down a little bit, lose a little bit of weight. I feel like he had a gentle energy around him. Always did the same line of work, always did the same thing. I feel like he liked to talk, but he liked to listen too. I feel like he had stories, he liked to tell stories, and like real stories. I feel like he collected something too, like he'd like to show that. But yeah, he comes in just as I'm sitting around you. Always says to trust yourself. Sometimes you don't trust yourself, you make decisions and then you step back on them. He's asking you just to be mindful around that. Oh, I just pulled more than one card. Nice. All right. Feel nice and calm in his energy. It's nice. All right, so when I pull your cards, you've got the take a moment card. I want to pull you one card, but you've got two. So you've got the bigger picture and support card. You've got the healing card that sits there with it. You know what I feel like? I feel like a lot of reality is coming around you. Excuse me for a second. Sorry. I feel like a lot of reality is coming in around you, like that dawning of, you know, sometimes like we can spend time with people and even years with people and we just learn different parts about their personality and things like that as we go along. And it's not all, you know, I don't want to be necessarily all doom and gloom around with it, but I do feel like your eyes are opening just to situations and to people more around you. And perhaps that's even more like a worldview than sort of coming in and honing in on specific people. But I feel like there's a reality in that that's been slightly disheartening and has perhaps changed some things around the way that you want to look at things and the things that you want to achieve and, you know, all of that sort of energy that sits there with it. And so when I sit and I look at your cards, you know, it is like that. Sort of take a moment and sort of sit back and go, okay, well, what's really important here? What matters the most? Because, you know, sometimes when we notice one thing's out of sync, I was saying this earlier today actually, like when one thing's out of sync, we find that several things are out of sync once we focus in on that. And sometimes it's because we're hyper-focused, but sometimes it is just because of that. Once we identify where something is lacking, you know, it does bring into light where other things are too. And so I just feel like there's a little bit of, again, just sort of reflection sitting back and perhaps planning in that. And I would hope planning in that. And I would hope, you know, to be able to sit back because you've got the bigger picture and the support card that's there. So the bigger picture specifically talks about looking beyond this moment, like making plans that are better for the long term, not necessarily what's easiest for now. And the healing. The healing is always a big card. It talks about being patient but allowing the healing to come in. And allowing the healing to come in, it talks about doing the work, you know, that shadow side of the work that allows you to not have the hurt, the resentment, the anger, the frustration and all of those feelings that come along when we look back on things that we're still healing from. Because while we're carrying those kind of emotions with us, that we can't heal. You know, healing, it doesn't have anger and resentment and all of those kind of little bits and pieces in it. So I just feel like you're kind of almost sitting onto like a, I don't know why I have the word proverbial in my head. I'm not even 100% sure what that means. But that's a proverbial molehill is what is sitting in my head. But when I sit with it, you know, in my own layman terms of sitting with that, I just feel like it's an opportunity to bring about, not next phases, I'm not talking about letting go and, you know, changing relationships and all that sort of stuff, but even just for where you're sitting with yourself and all of that. It's a nice energy, but I can feel like the heaviness that comes with it. So if I pull you a few more cards, it just says be mindful of your balance that's there, but there's new beginnings coming in, but you're going to need to call on your strengths to bring them in, okay? Trust in yourself, and there'll be a change of luck that comes about. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like you're starting to sit back and actually see things for what they are. And again, in context, okay? External conflict that sits there that brings about uncertainty. I know I'm flicking through, but I'm just pulling you a full spread, which brings about the end of a phase. As I said, that's what I feel around you, okay? There's a new energy that's coming in and around, but you have to allow it and you have to do the hard work to actually work out exactly what it is. So I hope all of that helps. I'll leave you with a task. But, you know, it's those moments in our life that we actually come to those points that make all the difference, and all those, that brings the substance in, I believe. So, yeah, good luck, and I hope that helps. All right, so I'm just going to catch up with the comments for a second because I'm not sure what time. Where is it? 9:53, 9:53. Comments go back to, okay, yes, wait. Hey Wendy, may I have a card in regards to relationship? It's funny, I'm always wondering if the duck card's going to come out, so I'm focused on right this second. You know what, even before I pull the cards, I just want to say, like, if we look at the way I see it in my head right now is almost like there's a relationship in the middle, right? And around it is a wall. And that wall is almost like bricks put in from, say, stresses at work, and then put in from opinions from family, and then put in from obligations, and then put in from, you know, habits. And slowly, slowly, slowly this wall comes around us. But I don't see it as like this neat brick wall around me by any yards of the stick. I see it as like this grey natural stone that's, you know, crumbly and things like that. And so for me, what that's sort of showing me is that this isn't a stable wall. It's not something that's like being built as this, you know, that's it, too bad, so sad structure. I feel like I can kind of walk up and go, all right, and push this away from me. And when I sit and actually, you know, move this wall away from me, all of a sudden I get this flood of sunshine that comes in on me. And so when it comes into reflection of this, I just want to say that to you as well. Be very mindful to kind of sit with the substance of actual relationships that come in around you and what is interfering with those. Because I feel like once we actually remove that obstacle from around us, what we have is, you know, something that the sun wants to shine on. And, you know, it takes two. It can't just be one person that knocks down that wall. I get it. And it can be frustrating when it does only come to one, but that in itself is a question, isn't it? So when I pull your cards, you've got the improvement of self and situations, but just taking a moment, rest and gratitude are needed. And, you know, gratitude, I know I've said it several times, but I'll explain it just one more time, is that moment where we don't, you know, it's not about being grateful that I have a roof over my head and that I have fuel in my car and those kind of little bits and pieces. Though, yes, we should always be grateful for those things. What I'm talking about, though, is gratitude, that thing that fills your heart, the thing that makes you feel like a 3-year-old again, the thing that you can look at the world and just go, wow, this is beautiful, you know. It's that thing that makes your heart feel just with joy. Find those things that make those moments in your life, and it could be as, you know, simple as a weed fighting up through the concrete, like seeds. I always say seeds, but seeds astound me. Like, you can have this tiny little seed that like sits like that and then grows like this big ass bloody tomato plant that's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's mind-blowing when you sit there and actually allow yourself to look at the amazement of things around you, and it fills you with such nice positive energy and it gives you clarity. So I giggled because then you've got the be positive again, and that's what I see, sunshine that comes in and around, okay? So I just feel like there needs to be a little bit of clearing out around you. Yep. All your cards are kind of just saying the same thing, like take 5, you're working towards your goals, but stay connected to yourself and you're secure in your choices, but you've got to be mindful about the choices that you're making. You won't always have the answers, but you have to work forward because this way is just not working for you and it's frustrating. So what you need to know most, yeah, nice, okay, we get that card in. What you need to know most is joys about true love. You got the joy card, just be patient and know that there's support around you. So there's nice positive energy here, as I said, but there's hard work included with it. I've got to knock down those walls around me, get a nice big broom, sweep up all the rubble, kick it out. Maybe plant a garden where the walls left a scar, metaphorically speaking. All right, so I'll leave that there with you, Wendy, and I hope that that helps. All right, I'm going to catch up with the comments. Go back a bit. Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. You know, I'll make comment of it, I guess. It's not necessarily an issue when I have more time, but I just see that there's a couple of questions that are like, oh, what's next? What's next isn't a 5-minute thing. Like, that's what's next. Okay, we're going to wake up in the morning. You know what I mean? It involves so much energy to actually work out and sit and play with that. And so you don't necessarily have time to sit with that in a live feed. So I do encourage you guys to be a little bit more direct with your questions. You're more likely to get read because I do notice your question. That's why I've noticed them there. So I am drawn to your energy. But the question's just too big to be able to do it, you know, any proper justice in 5 minutes. And so just kind of keep that in mind. You can ask for general, absolutely, but what's next? I'm a very literal person, so I'll take your questions literally. All right, anyway, I'll stop gibbering, but yeah, just a point. I've made a garden and the plants are dying. Why? Plants are dying. Why? First of all, I don't feel like the relationship marries up exactly. I feel like there's plants that are, you know, I require this and I require this, and the two things are not necessarily a companion to each other. The dirt itself does. I'm wondering if it's too rich. I'm wondering if there's too much enthusiasm that's gone in the original part of things. Like when we over fertilize. Pardon me, and things like that, it almost can create like an acidic environment. You know, we can burn things. So if you've got like your leaves turning yellow and things like that, I feel like that's where you're at. But again, the companionship that sits there in between it. And you know what else it is too, though, as well, like trial and error, and the way that we transplant things as well has to be quite mindful. Some things aren't very tolerant to transplant, and so it's not necessarily that they're dying. Sorry. I got this bloody frog in my throat, so let's get rid of it. It's not that they're dying, it's that when we plant them, they need a minute just to kind of go, oh shit, and then just, you know, take a minute to breathe and to come back into play. So just, unless they like turn into the point where, just be gentle with it. But if you go up to like a little twig and it wants to break, then, you know, you can kind of go, okay, that branch is dead. But if it's got any kind of flexibility with it, just leave it alone. You find some, I had to, my next door neighbours at my old place, through no fault of their own or whatever else, got this bloody freaking, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, it smashed my lily pillies, man. I've had these lily pillies for 5 years in pots. I had them huge, and I had to strip them. I just had to strip them bare, basically, in the end, and they're all starting to come back. So that's my point, and people are probably going, why is she going on about gardening? But I absolutely love gardens and plants, and so I was drawn to that question. But that's where I feel like that you're at, the soil and the substrate, the transplantation, just be mindful. But again, if this is all just like over the last couple of months and things like that, the weather's been off as well. It's not a normal spring, so just give them a second. Just give them a second too. But be mindful. I feel like there might be a little bit of over-fertilisation going on. I hope that helps. Hey, Tanya, Emily, I would love a reading if drawn, please. Tanya. You know, it's nice when I sit with you. I want to go, what I hear is, oh yeah, not much happening over the next 6 months, but I don't hear that in a, oh, not much happening. I hear it in a like, breathe easy kind of way that's there, so I'm not necessarily disappointed in it, but that's where it feels like you're kind of just sitting in a steady period, okay? You're sitting in a steady period, which is like, woohoo, yeah, I know, but it's better than, well, listen, you're sitting in a steady period. sitting in a steady period. It's trust that energy around you, okay? I wish sometimes you could see the cards that come down. Yeah, that's... I had that. Anyway, trust the energy around you, as I said, as I turn that card. But that's what I'm sort of sitting with. It's like, okay, I'm being shown that this is a steady period. There's nothing, major happening where nothing woohoo is happening. But when I sit with that, as I said, I kind of want to trust in that. It's almost like we're looking over our shoulder, looking around our corner, waiting for something to fall, waiting for something to go wrong. And again, keep it to context where it applies. I'm not saying you're like, oh my God, like this all the time. But to sit with it. You've got the Stand Strong card that's there, like you've got this, okay? You've got the Shit Happens card that's there, which is where I feel that energy has come from. It's almost like that Shit Happens card comes off as, oh, shit happens. But what it is that it's like sometimes in life things are just going to happen. Yes, it could be through things of our own that have, been circumstantial. It can be just things that have happened outside of us that we really had no control over. All these kind of little bits and pieces. But we've got to sort of sit back and make a decision about what impact they have. And so sometimes we've got to sit back and go, well, shit happens, and I'm not going to let it define or create a huge moment that it disrupts everything, you know what I mean? And that can take some balls sometimes. It can take a real moment to sit back and go, but, allowing yourself to come to that point and trusting, again, just in that energy around you, okay? So you've got nice cards that's there. You've got the support card, just be positive. A little bit of procrastination, but we would expect that. Change your luck, see things for what they are, allow the healing to come in, use your strength. Yeah, nice. Or see, like all improvement cards, you've got the Sunset card, improvement card, the healing card, change of luck card, all the nice cards sitting there throughout it. So take on board what I've said. I hope that it helps, and thank you very much for joining me this evening. All right. So, guys, for 2 seconds, while I do a spin, let me just put this one up. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I've put this one, scam alert. Just be mindful, guys, pretty much on every single live feed, there's like either people that are making fake clone pages, there's people that will jump onto the live and, message me for a reading. All of those kind of little bits and pieces that are there. So just on the live feeds, I will not reply to messages. I will not, I won't respond to Jack. On my page, on posts, yes, I will. Absolutely, I will, and I try to all the time. But on a live feed, I won't, just because there's too many scammers and you don't know whether it's me or not. And so I won't do that. So other than that, guys, if you do want to book a reading with me, you can click book now. I haven't put the discount code up. I should do that while I'm sitting studying. Yes, I'll put that on my to-do list, but there will be a discount code that goes up as well for Christmas, and that will apply also to the gift vouchers and things like that as well. So other than that, there's not much else. There is no other than that. I'm here to read. I want to keep reading. All right. Hey, Jan. Fingers crossed you're drawn to me. Love a reading. Jan. I've got my glasses on. Your profile pics are like this big. Sometimes I like to see. But I've got to say, just as I sit here and I focus on you, for whatever reason, your mum's energy is big around you. And it's nice. It's a nice energy. All right, Jan. Work stuff is shifting. Let me put you some cards. Gee, that's interesting. I'm going to give it to you just exactly as I get it through. And it's interesting because these are my cards. It's my deck that I've created, and they're just basically an extension of my psychic energy. It allows me to flow faster through live feeds. When you have a one-on-one reading with me, I know heaps of you guys have, but Oh, I don't know how many of you have on here. I say heaps. It'd be good if there was heaps. But anyway, I do heaps of readings every year, but you'll find I don't use tools when I read for the most part. I like to scribble, actually. But anyway, what my point is, when I put down your cards, you got the intention card that's there, and I kind of looked at it because for the first time ever when I looked at it, the key stood out for me as like, and I saw it going into a door and opening up, and it was like, all right, be mindful around the intention. Then on your third card, you've got the completions card, which is as one door shuts, another one opens. And so I'm looking at doors. And I'm looking at doors with you, and it's interesting, and I kind of want to follow that energy because I saw the key specifically go into the door, and I kind of had that energy around whether there's something, so because the middle card's improvement around self and situations that's there. If it is linked to moving, I want to very much say, like, just be mindful of your intention there. I see it in a way of not seen it before, and it's really interesting energy for me. But improvements as well. So like even just around like having something that we need, something cleared out, something fixed, something repaired, something renovated, whatever it is, that the energy that comes in and around the house that's there. But I'd be interested to see, just because, you know what, we all learn along the way, and I'm always happy to be wrong. I always say, as I teach as well, in your nose is where you learn your yeses. But as I said, they're my cards, and I've just not seen it that way before. And I was sort of like, yeah, okay. So I'd be curious to see what you said on that, Jan. But just around the housing, if it resonates with you. But just keeping that energy there as well. So like the intention card talks about where yours lays. And so, you know, for example, like our subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And so when we think about the worst and we worry about the worst coming in, and we think that that's something, you know, we've got to throw our attention and energy into, then that's generally what our energy goes to and what we manifest. And so just be mindful where your intention flows. Allow yourself to see the positives of the outcomes that you're trying to achieve, see the success in it, how good you feel, all of that sort of stuff, because that's what your subconscious sits with, and that's what your subconscious tells your body that that's what's happening. Again, you've got the improvements of self and situations there, and completions. As one door closes, another one opens. And I often see this as the bush, you know. So like after a bushfire has been through it, and you look and you see all the black and everything's burnt out, and all of a sudden this bush that looks so full looks so hollow, you know, and you think, wow. But then you drive past again several weeks later, and there's all this green shrubbery coming back to life, and, you know, coming out of the trees, and it's actually been like really good for the bush and this rejuvenation. And don't get me wrong, I know that sometimes it's not always the case, but in those cases there, that's how I see that, like a rejuvenation, a chance to kind of rebuild, a chance to have all the new beautiful growth around you. And so I'll leave that there with you. But again, if you've happened to catch your reading, Jan, I'd be interested to see just if that key in the housing had any kind of resonation with you, just because, as I said, they're my cards and I've not seen that before. So curious to work out what it is. But thank you very much for joining me, Jan, and I hope that that helps. Elizabeth Eldridge-Munn, can you please can you read for me? Yep. Oh. Unity, love. All right. I just want to say sometimes, Dave, yeah, okay. You know what? Yeah, all right. So I want to say to you, all right, stay focused on the bigger picture. I want to say sometimes situations and people and things, they're really frustrating, and it can go on for a period of time, and there might be sort of circumstances that impact on it and compound it, and we can get to a point where we're just like, you know, and start to kind of question where we are, if what we want, all of those kind of little bits and pieces. But if that situation was removed off it, it's, you know, it's like a tumour, a growth or something that just isn't, you know, meant to be in the scheme of things. If that was removed away, you know, where would we sit? And so I kind of just feel like I want to look at everything in that regard, because when I remove that thing away, you know, and I feel like it's having an impact on things close to home and around with you. And it was interesting because, as I said, like that card jumped out when I was there, so I picked it up off the floor, I kept it to the side, and you heard me say unity, love. And as I was then tuning in, I'm like, yeah, okay. So I want to pull some cards for you and just see where it comes out. That was funny, I was going to pull them off the top then. There's a reason for that. I'm going to keep that one too. Yeah. So when I pull your cards, you've got the take 5 card, stay connected with yourself, the security card. When I went to pull off the top, you've got the betrayal card, sheep in wolf's clothing. And with that card that's there, I just want to say make sure you just trust in your own decisions, making your own decisions, trust in your own gut. I always say don't take advice from people that haven't done something themselves. You know, it's amazing how much wisdom people have for teaching you something that they've never even done. You know, I say that with sarcasm, but it's true. So just take that on board. But when I sit with your cards, you've got the take 5 card that's there, which talks about regrouping, recuperation, mindfulness and rest, okay? Staying connected in with yourself. But most of all, you've got the security card that's there, which talks about your choices and your decisions. They're correct. You're secure in those. And that's where I want to say, like, even if it feels like things around at the moment are just like, you know what, I want to say, just sit with that right now. Yeah, okay, so we don't want to just sit in it, we want to shift it. You know what I saw it as, and I know it's not the most like elegant way to see it, but I have a warped sense of humour and it shows in my symbolism, but I saw it as a wart, like originally. And you know what, like you can actually sell your warts. Again, as feral as it sounds, and this is dead set, right? As a kid, I'd get warts on my fingers, man. I remember the day that they would burn off. Oh my God, I remember that day. It sucked. But anyway, I read or heard or something else along the way about selling your warts. And so that's what I did after that. I was like, I'll sell your warts. Sell you my wart for $1. And it doesn't give the other person the wart by any yards of the stick, but in some metaphysical sense, it gets rid of them. And I've heard it with other things as well, but like explicitly, I've definitely tried it with warts and it works. I'm asking to sell anything, but when I look at everything around and I sit with that, the point of the moral of the story, it's not something that's permanent. It's not something that has to remain attached. It's something that if we take measures, we can remove it. And sometimes those measures have to be a little bit abnormal, a little bit out of the box. Okay, so just kind of sit, and that's before you make any big decisions, take all of that on mind. I won't keep dribbling on because I think I've made my point, but take all that on board and I hope that it helps. A lot of symbolism in that one. All right. You know, Jenny, this year, like I feel like saying this year's over. It's like literally how many days have I can't even believe that. So, yeah, I actually get more the first quarter of next year. Funding side of things, it's there. That's just part and parcel. And I'm not going to lie, I'm familiar with NDIS, and so I always be transparent. And what keeps coming into my head is that I'm sure it's cycle time. Like it was on my head just the other day, like, shouldn't I be filling out some reports or something else like that? My youngest. Oh, no, he's not my middle, he's my youngest. It's funny, I took a question. You mums know what it's like. But anyway, my youngest boy is autistic, and so I work with NDIS funding as well. So, and another thing that's sort of drawn into mind as well, because I use reference of my own things, is that sometimes we don't necessarily get what we expect as far as that goes, but it's a part of the system, and using that funding to not only get the support that you need, but to also through that support show and reflect where more support is needed. And so it kind of is a build on a compound thing. So if you're at the beginning of that journey, just expect a little bit more frustration than what you're anticipating, but don't take it as a bad thing. It is just a step in the movement. I'm reminded that moving, like, it was funny, I was just thinking about it the other day even, like you give 21 days notice when you move. So like it's nearly a whole month in itself as well. So I want to take that into comparison as well. I don't feel like we're just starting in the middle of like the first quarter of next year. I feel like we're moved in the middle of the first quarter of next year. Okay, so I'll leave that there with you and I hope that it helps. You're very welcome, and thank you very much for taking the time to give me some feedback. I appreciate it. Oh, nice. Yeah, once things are moving, I notice they tend to move, but those initial movements are, trudgy, as I'm sure that you realise. And so, but I have a nice energy around it, and that's the nice part about it too. Is like when you sit in your energy, they'll use the context, and so I know, you know, you can go, oh yeah, okay, I understand this means this and this means that. Anyway, I won't dribble on with that, but yeah, it's got a good energy with it. So just a little bit more patience and frustration, but you're on the right track. Sarah, I would really appreciate a reading if you are drawn to me. Sarah. I'm curious if you're, it's Christmas time, so I'm always like everyone's moving around, just it's not that psychic. But when I sit with it, I've got songs in my head about you going over the sea, and when I'm sitting with your energy, I feel myself going over the water. So I'm wondering if you've got a trip going on, or if you're going over water to some degree. You know what I'm going to say? If you do have any travel plans over the next 8 weeks, just make sure that you've got, like travel insurance and those kind of little bits and pieces around. Make sure that you've got like water and say maybe snacks or something else like that. So if you're stuck sitting somewhere for 3 or 4 hours, you're not like, oh, you know what I mean? Just make provisions around yourself as far as it goes. Like, I live near the M1 in Lake Macquarie, and anyone that's local around can know that freeway turns into a car park for several hours at times. And so it's kind of like a run and joke, like you prep, you take water, you take food, you take toilet paper, you prepare for the worst. You know what I mean? And I just feel like I need to say that as far as that side of things goes. So with your cards, you got the Change of Luck, energy shifting for the better. You got the Take 5 card and Stand Strong card with that. I want to say to you, be mindful around the things that you know that your body needs with that. I know it's been a little bit of a theme this week, but I'm drawn to that energy with you as well. Just that same like routines, habits, diet, all of those kind of little bits and pieces. When things get busy, when things get hectic, we are heading up into the end of the year. It's very easy to let things go that we know that we need, and we start to lag. And I feel like it is actually important that you pay attention to. And I feel like you've actually taken time in the past to get to that point. So keep up like the good work around yourself. Trust, self-trust and belief is where it all begins. New Year's resolutions are, you always hear me probably say several times, like cliche, ugh. But with a new year, I do it with seasons and, with anything really as far as it goes, but it's a nice opportunity to sit with a renewed energy of time and season to also bring that renewal and energy around yourself. So I don't necessarily feel like you're sitting back making like New Year's resolutions, but I do feel like you take an opportunity in the new year to also bring in new energy around with yourself. I feel like you're making some decisions to move forward in your work, okay, and they feel good. I feel like it's going to have to take a balance, a balance around you, as far as like just being able to sit back and go, okay, well, I know for the next several months, for example, I'm going to have to balance this extra workload and just, delegate my time and just be mindful around my discipline. But if I do that and I make this sacrifice now, well, then I have this at the end. I feel like that at the end, I kind of want to giggle because it's like at the end of step one, because I feel like it actually sparks an interest in something else, or it is a sequence of steps that you're looking to take already, okay? So there's a nice energy, trust your flow, make sure you look after yourself around with it. It's like, I see it as something simple, and it's, it's funny, I'm just using my car as a reference, so I'll say my car needs a wash bad. But, I have this spider that I let live on the driver's mirror, and he just lives there. He's been to Melbourne and everything, and I'm assuming it's the same spider unless one comes in and eats the other one and takes over. I don't know how the whole spider land works, but either way, I'll let him live there. But it's been a few weeks since I've washed my car, and now they've got like this extension down to the door, and I'm just like, yeah, no, bit of a hotel happening here. But my point, sorry, I digress, is that I see it like that, you know, we wouldn't sort of let our car get all dirty if we're going to take it in for a car show type of thing. And that's the reference that I was using, that normally, if we keep things all nice and polished, everything looks smick, it looks well, all of those kind of little bits and pieces. But when we start to become negligent of the maintenance, things start to look a little bit shabby and reflect in that. So I don't know why I'm seeing it in a car. It's probably just spirit telling me to go wash my car. But in the same reflection of that, that's what I say, and I hope that that metaphor makes sense with you. But keeping up your own energies, your own routines, your own habits, and those things that are there, because the plans and the energy that you have coming into the new year, they're productive, and I feel like you've worked yourself up to that point. And so, just when I say don't become complacent, I want to be respectful when I say that, but I just say it, that's how I feel, okay? So I'll leave that there with you, and I hope that it helps. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Thank you as well for your feedback. Always appreciate that too. What was that one? Yeah, nice. Greetings from New Zealand. Love any messages and thank you for your time. You're very welcome, Victoria. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining me on the page. Nice to meet you. Blessings from you've got a very strong spiritual energy around you, and I feel like it's an energy that's not commercial. And anyway, without explanation, I just feel like it's not a commercial energy. And what I mean by that is that I feel like it is traditional, it's ancestral, it's those kind of little bits and pieces. And I feel like there's an element within that, even to the side, that's like a sense of responsibility that comes from wherever you sit in the family. And it may just be, the way that somebody's needing you for support, or, a bigger role of responsibility that comes into line with that. But I just feel like there's a deep sense, it's almost like you'd get called an old soul, and I'm sure that you probably have been several times in your life. Don't forget to be a young soul as well in that, because it's very easy to get caught up in responsibility and wisdom and knowledge and all of those kind of little bits and pieces, and forget sometimes just to be a rat bag. Moving on. So, yeah. I'll go to your third card first because it's moving on, and I'm curious to see if you're actually wanting to move in that, and there's been some hesitation, some delay about the impact that that's going to have. But you've got the Where Are You card that's there, and for me that card's one of the bigger cards in my deck, and that simply asks you that, like, where are you? Are you happy? What's missing? What is it that you need to bring in your life to actually bring that sense of purpose and meaning that's there for you? And so I always say write a list and then write a second list about what you're going to do. But I feel like you're already in the conjunction of that. I feel like you've already moved forward. I feel like you've kind of got that, I know what it is that I need to do. But again, that you're worried about the impact that it's going to have on other people. And so when I see with you in the second card, you've got the cycles, and that talks about beginnings and endings just being in natural order. And you can see it, like I use the butterfly as well. So it's also about blossoming and, moving on to where you need to be. And so that, moving on as well is seen in different ways. If it isn't a physical move that you're wanting to bring into play, it's still a moving on for you. And, that can be in a massive amount of study and choice that we make for ourselves. It can be, bringing something new into our lives, all of those kind of little bits and pieces that are there. So keep it in context of what it means for you, but I still want to keep in play what I've said. I don't want to change that. And so let me just pull you a couple more cards just to see what it says. Yeah, stay connected to yourself. Your goals are not impossible, and stay focused on the bigger picture. Don't make decisions for what's best for right now. Make decisions for what's best for the long term, and that's exactly what I feel like you're doing. It is time. You know it and you feel it, and completions are going to come in. Yeah, frustration is a natural part, and you'll need to move forward without all the answers, but that's life. Call on your strength and make the commitment to move forward. So what you need to know most of yourself. Stand in your truth, your honour, your awareness. Clear out the stables, out with the old and in with the new. But you're going to have to call on your energy. You're the one that's going to make the shifts here. You're the one that's going to make the changes. Again, a little bit of heartache. I can feel that around. But if you're willing to push through with it, you've got the freedom card that's there, okay? So again, I hope all of that helps. Thank you very much for joining me, Victoria. If you haven't already, please like my Facebook page. Always appreciate a new like on the page. And you'll also be updated when I go live and things like that as well. So Thank you kindly. All right, let me catch up with the comments. All right. Ah, nice. Yeah, cool. That's, yeah. You know what I reckon? You're going to find, like, yeah, like you know, when you learn, you bring in and then you learn an attachment to it, an attachment to it, an attachment to it. You know, it's kind of like that beautiful learning journey and things like that that we go through. I get excited when I sit in the energy that I jumble my words, but it's yeah, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's, yeah, nice. Enjoy. You're going to love it. Sharon, need a little direction if you're drawn to me. Thank you. Is it time to leave? Is it time to leave? Is it time to leave? You know what? If you're asking the question, sometimes that in itself needs to be the answer, you know? And it's almost like at times we need freaking hell permission to do that. And see, the energy in your cards is really jumpy as well. There's a lot of back and forth happening with you. Trust your instinct, trust your gut. You know, the scariest things, the hardest things are generally the right things. Oh man, the movements and the planning that I've done over my lifetime to get away from situations. That indecisiveness, that back and forward that's there, you know. Is it time to leave? Yes, you are. So, when I pull your cards, you've got the worry and doubt card. You've got the stand strong card, and you've got the decisions. Direction, choices, decisions. Obviously, that's your question. So stay connected to yourself. Beginnings and endings are in natural order. What's important to you? There's a phase out coming around. Let go of what is binding you. There is betrayal here. Like, not everything's as it seems. Be patient with yourself. You're uncertain, but don't think that your goals are not possible here, okay? So what you need to know for yourself, be positive. Your attitude is a choice. It's time to clear out the stables, out with the old and in with the new. When you do that, you'll see a transformation, but you've got to be open to embracing the changes around you, okay? So I know that I went with all of that, but I'm not here to make your decisions for you, but I hope all of that insight and guidance certainly gave you a clear direction, because I think we can see that there's a pretty clear answer in that. All right, so the thing is, that's the thing. If you're asking the question in yourself in the first place, therein lays your answer. Okay, give yourself permission. We get to live this life once. You know, years tick by so freaking fast. So freaking fast. That's the only thing that I probably can get cranky about a lot in that energy of, like, how old, like, you know, losing 30 years to just crazy. Oh. But again, like, it's all in choice, and be positive. Your attitude is a choice, and so it's about looking back at that wisdom and knowledge. And there's no bloody way I'd be the person I was if I hadn't been through everything I had been and was able to take away good things from it, you know. And so just, yeah, keep it in mind. We only get one life. We only get to make choices for so long. Don't be afraid to make the ones that are right for you. All right. You know what, Kimberly, Craig? I remember the very first time I went through somewhere. It was Macca's drive-through, of course. And got called ma'am. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, dude, how old do you think I am? Like, I'm calling you dude. So, like, how old do you think I am? And it's funny. Ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am. You know what the scary part is? Like, no, I'm still not a ma'am. I'll never be a ma'am. Howdy, ma'am. Howdy, ma'am. I'm seeing that as like a hot shirtless, you know. Howdy, ma'am. Maybe that'll do. Anyway, I digress. Let me read your question. Could I please get some cards? Here we go. Cards on my little sister's new relationship. Her last 2 relationships were absolute shite shows. This young fellow she's met seems like a true gentleman. Would love to know what you could pick up. All right. You know, I'll say this, Kimberly. I will pull you some cards, but I'll say two things. Is one, I'll keep it as a general because she hasn't read specifically, but we've all got learning cycles, and you know, people kind of grow and things like that. And so just sort of take that on board. If you can see that your sister's really sort of sat back over the last couple of relationships and been able to take something away from it and still stand strong within herself, you know, I feel like you've got a pretty good instinct over people. As far as being a true gentleman goes, absolute. But I feel like there may be some, you know, some growth that comes in on both sides still. So you might see a little bit of jealousy or insecurities and things like that that come in the way. I would just be encouraging your sister just to remember that through this healing period, that it's really important that we don't hand over control and that we really respect our boundaries and all of those kind of little bits and pieces, and not to be afraid to communicate that. And if in that communication those things are kind of challenged, that as much as we kind of feel that there's lots of good qualities here, that it might not necessarily be the right one. And that's not a premonition, it's just advice given that needs to be taken at some point in time, okay? And so what I also want to say around with that too is just like there's always opportunity to listen, there's always opportunity to grow. And so with that, you might just, you know, have some lessons as well. I got myself sidetracked. Where did I go with that? What else did I want to say? Oh yeah, it's very easy to sort of sit back and go like, oh, I'm in love, it doesn't matter. And it does. And it sounds like I'm just sort of predicting, but at the end of the day, like, again, like there's always healing and there's always growth. And so I feel like that is here. And so it's not necessarily a negative thing. It depends on how it's treated and delicately balanced, all right? And so, yeah, just don't be afraid to encourage her to step up and look after herself. Keep yourself nice and grounded. Essentially, if I want to put that in a nutshell, I can keep that there. So then the cycles, beginnings and endings are a natural order. So moving forward is natural progression for her, you know what I mean? But again, in the past, shit has happened. So I feel like she's still working out her own little bits and pieces, as I feel this other person is as well. Not always the most ideal situations for new relationships, but if we look after ourselves and keep the communication open, then we'll generally be okay. Yeah, there's nothing here that really concerns me. Again, just making sure that she stands strong in her own energy, stays focused on what she wants, where her path is, and just be mindful around her own insecurities and those of her partner as well. All right, so I'll leave that there with you, and I hope that that helps. All right. What time are we at? 47. Yeah, okay, well, I might as well just... Hey Jade, do you have a card for me to see if I will get what I am working towards in 2023? No, I don't have a specific card for you that says that you're going to get that, but I do have cards that are going to give you some insight and guidance. Which I know is what you meant. But in my head I'm like, oh, would that be nice? Do you have a card for me to see if I will get what I'm working towards in 2023? You know, the first thing that came up when I pulled your cards, or when I was drawn to you, and as I pull your cards, I'm still kind of fumbling around with it in my head. And it's just that underlying tone of you're not meant to know, like you're meant to just believe it's going to and keep working towards it, because I feel like, yeah, okay, so like, yeah, but you might kind of feel like it's coming in at this certain point in time and it might be ready to come in at this certain amount of time, okay? And so be prepared for that, because there's exuberance, enthusiasm, passion and everything else that's there, but there's also learning lessons and, you know, external factors that we've got to deal with and all of those kind of little bits and pieces. Have a look too at what is around what it is that you're trying to achieve, because I feel like there's some impact that comes in from that as well. You know, it's a lot busier than perhaps what we realise it is. And so just sort of keep that in mind. And so there's a nice positive energy that's here with it, but I just, yeah, it's like, if I was to say to you, you know, like it's about the belief being there and everything else like that, I already hear back, but the belief is there. And so I get that. It's not the point I'm trying to make. It's that undeniable kind of faith that even if it comes in at this point in time, and that I'm not trying to say that it's oh you're going to have to wait, I just don't want to tell you. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that if the belief and faith is there, then everything else stays there with it. And I want to kind of put that into place with it. Okay, keep that sense of, oh, is this going to work, there. It's meant to be there. Yeah, nice. And so, yeah, again, when I sit with your cards, you've got the security card that comes out first. So you are secure in your life and in your choices, okay? And it's a nice energy. See, nice flashy gold padlock that's there. Woohoo! And then you've got the joy card. And I specifically use the word joy, not happy there, because it is peace, happiness and harmony. It is this balance. It is this, and then catch the rainbow. Your goals are not impossible. So, again, really nice positive energy, but keep yourself on the edge of your seat with it, okay? I just feel like, one, it's more fun, and like two, I just feel like that needs to stay for whatever wanton reason. I need to throw that in there. So I'm going to leave that there with you, and I hope that that helps. You're very welcome. I just want to go... find that question. There it is there. Hey Chris. Have retired recently. I keep having health issues. Will this clear up so I can finally enjoy my retirement? I want to say like two things first, okay? Okay. So, all right. I'm breaking my own rule too, I just realised. But I'm drawn to your question. Normally there's no health questions on there. But I'm going to say, but it's all good because I know what I want to say to you. So first thing I want to say to you, Chris, is that I am not a doctor. I am not a medical practitioner, okay? I am a psychic and I'm giving you advice as I see fit. Always follow the advice of your medical practitioner. What I want to say to you though is what came to mind straight away and why I was drawn to it, and it didn't even like click to the fact that I was jumping onto a health thing, is there's an author by the name of Anthony Williams, and many of you would have heard of his book called Medical Medium, but there's a lot of really good insightful information in that. The book's tedious to read. I read it from cover to cover, but it really is worth a read, and it's just the general insight that it gives you around the function and those kind of little bits and pieces of your body. I feel like there's some metaphysical energy going on with you, Chris, and so that's why I was drawn to your energy as well. Some kinesiology, I reckon, around you would be nice to actually hone in, and so I want to encourage that for you. And I just feel like just taking a moment, when it rains it pours, and I feel like you kind of left your umbrella in the car, and so you're like, oh, forget, I'm wet now, I'll just stand here and get soaked. And so just checking in, because you're doing all the right things, your energy's in the right place and you're in the right direction. So into that, I want to add, again, just some kinesiology. And you know what too? Energy blocks in your body. There's some tightness that's sitting there. Our body holds trauma, our body holds memory. Even like our hair holds like trauma and things like that. And so like, it'd be interesting to see as well. I'm trying to say massage, but I don't want to just go to like a freaking massage. I want to go to, I don't know what area you're in, but gee whiz, there's somebody up here I'd send you to. But again, just somebody that really wants to listen to your body. So the question I'd be asking that massage therapist is, for example, do you work to a set routine? And if the answer is yes, then go, yeah, thank you, no, thank you. Somebody that knows how to listen to the body, and perhaps even somebody that's done a little bit of trauma work and things like that around with it as well. But anyway, you get the general context of what I'm trying to say and add on to that's there. Listen to what your body's trying to say to you. Stop being so stubborn around the things that you don't want to change or that you think that you can't as well, and things like that. So a little bit of a turnaround that comes into play. I feel like we're sitting probably over a period of a couple of years, but I'm not saying 2 years until you feel better. I'm saying 2 years and I'm sitting there and I'm watching now, and you're looking back and you're going, oh, thank fuck I made those changes, okay? And I shouldn't swear, but sorry, that's how it come out. So yeah, I'll leave that there with you, Chris, and I hope that that helps. All right, I'm going to do 2 more readings, guys, and then we should be sitting around that hour. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I like. Giselle, if you don't mind that I bring up your comment for a second. Not that, I mean, I like that you say that about my readings, but mostly what I want to say is that I like that you say that I get messages from other readings. Birds of a feather flock together, and I say exactly the same thing when we do a mediumship demonstration, that not everyone's guaranteed a reading. But I remember once, and I'll just dribble on for a second and I'll still do a couple of readings, but I remember once doing a mediumship demonstration, and I was connecting to this person. I was doing evidential, so I was throwing the evidence out to the audience, and I had two people tossing in between this evidence. And in the end, the woman in spirit sort of said to me, okay, well, the person that I'm connected to is wearing these shoes. And so I said, okay, which one of you guys is wearing these shoes? And so the lady up the back went, I'm wearing those shoes. And so I'm like, all right, sweet, it's you I'm connected to. And so I stayed connected over with her, and it quickly became apparent that it wasn't actually her I was connected to, it was the lady down the front. But the thing around it was that their occupation was all in common with each other, and that there was the ladies down the front, mum from memory, but she connected to the lady up the back. And so by connecting to the lady up the back, the lady at the front and her worked out that this lady at the front needed a worker and this lady at the back was looking for a job, and they ended up working. And so it was, you know, it all works in very funny ways, and very much so. I just wanted to validate that. It's, yeah, very much so. Okay, well then let me go over here anyway as well, because I've caught you twice now. Would love a what am I not seeing reading. You know what, though, as well, on that note, nobody can tell you that. And I dispute the authenticity of that, hey, like in that regard, like, yeah, I'm a literal person, I'm a stickler for detail, and I get all of that, so, you know, hurrah to everyone else. But the thing around it is it's sit with what you're not doing with yourself right now, and what you're not seeing becomes clear. You know, that's what it is. It's not that you're not seeing this one specific thing. It's that the overall makes it sound like everything's out of whack, but that overall energy with yourself. Like, let me give you an example, because it's generally the best, easiest way I work. But so I do this work. I study full time. I'm at uni. I'm at TAFE. I've got, you know, children, blah, 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 blah. It's easy, you know, for all of us as well, just for life to go, and I'll get these notions and this knowledge and this awareness that it's been X amount of time since, you know, I've gone for a bushwalk. It's been X amount of time since I've been to the beach, you know, and it's like, oh, bushwalk the beach, big deal. But those are the things that nurture me. Those are the things that ground me. Those are the things that bring me peace and joy, and I find my deepest sense of gratitude in. And so they're important to my well-being. They're important to my balance. They're important to my connection to spirit. And so I'll get these kind of little hints and nudges and things like that around. I know, you know, if I'm not drinking enough water, I'm not sleeping well, if I'm eating crap, if I'm drinking too much, all of those kind of little bits and pieces, they all start to take an impact on how clear I see things, how motivated I am, And so that blinds us, essentially. So when we talk about what am I not seeing, have a look and see what's in front of your eyes, basically, in that metaphorical sense. Because once we put those things into play, once we're actually connected back to ourselves, those things become apparent, because something else is going to stick out and go, okay, well, this is out of whack. And it's having the courage. Sometimes it is absolute courage to be able to sit back and go, oh wow, I just realised that, just for an example, like I'm really unhappy in my job, or I'm really unhappy in this relationship, or I'm really unhappy in this friendship. You know what I mean? And that's a big realisation to have to come to, because then you've got all these massive shifts and changes that come off of it. And boy, isn't it easier just to let things be, you know? And so, and it frustrates me when I hear like people come and go, oh, you know, this psychic told me that my chakra's blocked, and blah, 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 blah. And it, like, you can't block an energy line. If you block an energy line, or, you know, if someone closed my chakra, if chakras are closed, they're your energy lines, you'd be dead. You know, like, literally they're energy lines. You'd be dead. Doesn't it just sound as simple as that? You all get me in context. But that's my point, is that's my point, what I've said, okay? So I hope that helps. Just take it on board. I'm going to pull you a couple of cards as well, but it's like picture it like a foggy day, you know what I mean? You drive in your car, your window miss up, you can't see nothing, and you don't turn the demister on. Turning the demister on is like everything that I've just talked about. It enables us to see ahead. Lets us see a little bit clearer where we're going, even when things aren't so clear around us. I'm the queen of metaphors. I think I said that the other week. We were doing metaphors in the workshop at uni. They're like, I'll use metaphors. And I'm like, stand back. All right, so when I sit with your cards, you've got the transformation card, which talks about blossoming into true self, taking your worries and doubt one step at a time, but paying attention to the long term, okay? So like with health, it talks about not just your physical health, but your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, all of those kind of little bits and pieces. There's an end of an era coming in, but you've got choices and decisions to make around you, and that's where I say to you, it's not that you're not seeing, it's what are you denying yourself? Even in that context. There's an external conflict card that comes out, but I mean, that can be, just stuff that's going on at work and everything else like that. There's no betrayal cards coming out or anything else like that. Yeah, I think honestly, it's like, take on board what I've said, even if it's like, no, like what am I not seeing with this person? Or what am I not seeing in this situation that's there? I still want to keep exactly what I've said, because by bringing those things into play, you can trust more what you are seeing. And, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. I was checking if the duck card was here. But take on board what I've said, and I hope that helps, Giselle. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. All right, one more reading, guys. If you are on TikTok, you can join me on there as well. I'm not on there again tonight. I've already been on there today, but you will find me on there over the weekend. So if you follow me on there, then I'm pretty sure you get told when I'm going live. All right, let me just catch up with the comments. Oh, you're very welcome, Giselle. I do tend to dribble on sometimes. I get called ma'am all the time, yeah. And it's not a bad thing at all, but it's just like, yeah. Hello, Rinny. I was wondering if I'm blocking the flow for positive change and how to protect kids from zombies, monsters, as she refers to them, please. So for the first part of your sentence, question, take on board exactly what I just said. Okay, we're not, we don't block the flow, but we can disrupt our energy flow when we're not taking care of ourselves. It's interesting, like, I don't know what fad or what time or what era it was all about. I wasn't on scene, I guess, around that time, where self-awareness and all that sort of stuff became this cliche garbage that, is so hard to kind of sit and emphasize and not have to feel like you justify. But remember, like, I'm 44, and so if you go back to like when I was like a teenager, pardon me, or even a kid, it was that whole thing of, oh, you love yourself. Oh, you love yourself. Remember that? Oh, you love yourself. I love yourself much? Oh, why don't you go and get on with yourself? You love yourself. And it was such a, you love yourself thing to love yourself. And so, it's, yeah, take on board what I just said 2 seconds ago. I'm sure you're here for that as well. So, but how to protect kids from zombies, monsters, as she refers to them, please. So there's different things to do around with this. One, let her know that it sounds simple, but like spirit and things like that, if they are being annoying, you can simply tell them to go away. But, yeah, okay, so a good old house cleanse never goes astray, okay? And so I'm not there. I can't walk into your house and sort of ascertain, but I'm going to give you more information than possibly what I need to. But for me, what I see sometimes in houses is what I call a leech. And so it's almost like there'll be a corner, a room, an area in the house that just feels a bit off. But I always say it's darker when it's dark. It's like it can be dark, but when you walk in, it's like darker in that corner that's there. And for me, it's always like a bully energy, and it's just my description. I'm not saying it's like the factual term, but it's like a bully. It's somebody that sees other spirits coming in, and it's an opportunity to, prey on weaker spirits, give them a little bit of a shit stir. It's almost like the bully on the playground type of analogy that's there. And but what it does is it starts to kind of, I always sort of am drawn to it because you'll start to see niggly little illnesses in the house, little bits of tension, things start to go missing, you know, just that off kind of energy that starts to come through. And that's generally what I find that's there. And so it's almost like you're dealing with two lots of spiritual kind of things that are going on. And so neither one are particularly scary. Like, I don't want to blow either one out of context or anything else like that. But obviously from a kid's point of view, as I said, I spent half of my childhood under a blanket. I get it can be scary. So a nice house cleanse and things like that. So if you are going to do a house cleanse, work from the back to the front, keep your windows open, do the mirrors, doors, all of those kind of little bits and pieces that are there. Sage is always a lovely tool, but remember that it's always the intention and the faith that you have in your actions that are stronger than the tools in your hand, okay? But as well with that, give power back to your back to them as well. So crystals sometimes can be a really nice way to do that if they're into crystals. Something that's grounding, so either like a obsidian, hematite, what's the other one I'm missing that's there? I don't know, but those two crystals in particular are nice and grounding. Tiger eye's got a lot of nice strength and all those kind of bits and pieces. Amethyst and rose quartz are your nice, gentle, you know, they've got nice qualities and things like that as well. But like for a bit of kick-ass and things like that with protection, I tend to like the more grounding and, you know, power stones kind of thing. With that as well, kind of that they know if they feel like something is around, simply going like, go away. Go away, you're annoying me, go away. They will get the message and they will back off. But again, if you've got that leechy kind of energy that's there, maybe not back off so easily, and that's where I always say just sort of, you know, do a bit of a house cleanse that's through there as well. Zombies, monsters. Depending on age and little bits and pieces like that as well, obviously you can educate them to an age-appropriate context as far as spirit and things like that goes. But the reference to zombies and monsters, depending on the age, makes me just, yeah, as I said, a nice house cleanse always doesn't go astray. Wherever you're buying the sage and things like that, you'll generally find the person that's selling it will have some advice around how to cleanse a house as well. Feel free to ask and take on board their advice too. I'm sure that between us both, you'll get the job done. So I hope that helps. But guys, thank you very much for joining me this evening. It has been a pleasure to read for you again. Again, if you are interested in joining me on some more regular live feeds, then jump over onto TikTok. You'll find me there as well. I'm not going to be on there again tonight, though. I've already been live today there and was live here earlier as well. So I'm going to get back to my study, and I hope that you guys all have a good weekend. As I say, if you can't be good at it. And I hope that is the case for me because I have an assessment to do. Bye.